OEM standards are incredibly important. Now, obviously, we've got technology evolving all the time, tooling. We're working a lot with lateral tension, so the styles of repair you're talking about there, tight repairs. Hopefully, the lateral tension stuff will be easing that.
Yeah.
Just getting people used to using.
It's new equipment as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I speak to panel beaters pretty much every week. I get questions about the glue system and just general repairs and stuff. And these are stuff we talk about. But a lot of the panel beaters, we want to progress into stuff like this, whether it's expanding your knowledge in the whole GPR side of things, or then pushing yourself up through the continuum into the green, which is the PDR end, which we're miles away from there really, but we have that sort of thing we like to do. We want to get good at stuff, so
yeah,
I think anyone who is passionate about the job they do, that's what you do.
You're chasing as close to perfection for your role as possible.
You see, I've been panel beating for 16, 17 years. Probably the first 5-6 years was just like, just one of them, isn't it? You're just learning everything you can until you start getting into it, and then to me pushing into this, and then going into smaller detail and stuff, that's probably going to take a long time as well. But as panel beaters, you just want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it, you want to do it more. But it's like anything, anyone does stuff like that, so it's one of them, isn't it?
You don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
This is key for us. This is number one. Obviously, working within the OEM standards. If the OEM says or states that, for argument's sake, a panel's been wrapped around the collision bar's got suspected damage. This is stuff that obviously you could look at and go, well, yes, I can repair it, but then should I? So we have to always bear that in mind, and I think that's rule number one of our 6Cs process. Always check those OEM standards to make sure that we're not working outside of those parameters. So I suppose really the benefits of GPR over stud welding. So there's another slide on that here. So this is just a very, very small. Every time I go and see someone, they say, "What about this? What about that?" There's so many benefits of GPR over stud welding. We've got a couple there.
The pros outweigh the cons, basically.
Yeah, we've got. It doesn't harm factory e-coat and corrosion protection. We touched on that earlier. So obviously, if you're welding studs on the back on the panel to pull, if the machine isn't set up correctly, it's too powerful. You can burn the painted side on the back side of the panel, and obviously burn the e-coat, meaning they're going to draw moisture in from the back of the repair. Now, some say, if the system's set up correctly, it shouldn't do that. But in order to check that, we've either got to remove the panel, the door card, which has a lot more R&I or MET involved in that to have a look. How many people are going to want to do that? The other thing is, you use bore scopes or something like that. But then anyone who's ever used one of those, they are difficult to work, and you've only got to be looking right, left, and left is right. You've only got to look in the wrong direction, and everything looks fine. So, or it's a quick squirt with some wax oil. Wax oil versus modern e-coat, there is no comparison there. So we've got safe to use for on hybrid and electric vehicles. So this is something we're seeing a huge amount of in the shops. Obviously, for best practice, most of the standards I've seen have said if you're going to start welding on a hybrid vehicle or electric vehicle, you are to disarm the battery, so power down the vehicle. Now, I was at a shop just recently where by the time the vehicle was powered down, there was two side by side. By the time the power down had happened on this vehicle, this one was in filler and ready to go off into paint. And that's the thing with the bonus for GPR, isn't it?
It's not a 2-second process, is it, to power a car down?
And then you've got, the other thing as well, when the vehicle's powered down, it's now disabled within the shop. So moving that vehicle around, it becomes troublesome. Whereas obviously, if we're doing a cold repair, for the most part, we're not going to need to power the vehicle down. So you still have that manoeuvrability with the vehicle, so you can get it on the line or to the prep bay or the MET bay before things start need to be dismantled, and the vehicle has to be powered down. So you've got no holes or tears in aluminium from stud welding. Now, think you can tell us more. 'Cause you've actually come
I've
from.
used 3 different stud aluminium welders, and this has not been biased or anything. The same people who's used them as me, they've all had the same opinions. We just haven't had good success with them. We did everything what it says, even from the guys who do the demos, and you're not getting the pull you want, or it just pulls off and end up with a hole which you then have to weld up. So to me, like, you leave everything in place and have a go with the glue. There will be cases when something's so tight, but then this is where you start pushing your knowledge into different areas and thinking, how am I going to get this tight low spot out?
Yeah.
And then obviously stuff we've learned through use by making your damage bigger.
Yeah.
It sounds totally backwards as a panel beater, but it's just another method of repair.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's obviously the surface area we're putting with glue pull is huge, and also it's still a cold repair, so there's no annealing of the aluminium as well, which is another plus point. You know, everything stays cold, which is forward. The maximum temperature we get to is 50 degrees panel temperature to clean any moisture off the vehicle. But I mean, you're going to get to a panel temperature of 50 degrees outside on a hot day.
True.
So you know, we're not taking the panel itself past where it wants to be. So there's it's a good thing there. So obviously no chance of burning insulation, which could result in fire. We touched on that with the camper van you were talking about. So teamed with modern day fillers, the factory finish remains intact. So this is something. This is something I know we've done work in the past with Indasa.
Yeah.
Teamed up with the other coat, the Optex Rage.
Yeah.
That's right, get that right. Where I was one of the actual tech reps, Will.
Yeah.
I think you know.
Yeah, no one just met through the whole everything and become good friends. To be fair.
Yeah. So it's what it seemed like is, well, hang on a minute. We have this fantastic filler that can lay over the top of the OE clear coat.
Yeah.
But really, when you look at it, from the outside looking in, it's like, well, up to now, in order for that vehicle to be repaired, for the filler to be applied, you're going to have to dig through to the substrate anyway.
It's like so. I think when I came into the trade, it was all sort of changing, and for best part of my probably the first 3 years, I did it the old-fashioned way, where you took your paint off, and then when I moved to a different shop, it was like, oh no, this is how we repair here, and I was like, so at first off, it was like, this is wrong, it just doesn't make sense, this is how I was taught. And then as time's gone on, that's the only way I do repairs now, unless it's something different, like a new quarter pound where I just take back the paint and then you've only got your edges to worry about. But like the Optex there that you mentioned, it says on the tin, for the arguments we've had for the last 5-6 years with technicians, old school technicians who are telling them how to do stuff, and this is how you should apply your filler. It's still going to corrode regardless, but if you're filling over the paint, which it says on the tin that you can do, it's part of the procedure, it's on the data sheets. There's nothing wrong with it, as long as it's prepped properly.
What I've come across is, well, if you're filling over the top of paint, you're going to get edges. But this was something, it didn't kind of compute to me at first, but having seen firsthand the repairs in process and tests we've done, I couldn't believe just how
it's all about your application as well.
Thins out.
Yeah, well, if you apply it properly, it's all about you stick your repair and then you feather your edges away from the middle of the repair, leaving the middle heavy. So then when you start blocking, you start in your middle and you work away at the your feathered edges, and then as you work down your grits, then you start hitting your edges and into your paint, and then you're not taking any of the paint or clear coat off that's surrounding, which you will get them from time to time as you go down, where you'll get that edge between your paint and your filler. But if it's as in your lower grits, your 240s, 320, you won't feel it, and so you can tell by looking at a repair.
Well, that's something I did on. I know the bonnet you did a demo for us on.
Yeah.
You run your hand over that, and it's just you cannot feel any transition. I've had obviously a light on there because that's what I do.
Yeah.
So I've put a solvent on just to give us a reflection, and I just couldn't see a transition at all. So this is something that we're going to hit on with Indasa as a year goes out. We've got a couple of road shows coming up, and there's a few process maps we're going to go through, because I see this as being a real key point, and you know, I want to talk about it a lot more, because I feel it just lifts the
One
repair
of the
into
things
the
with
next.
that was so your all-star repairs would be you paint all the way back, you do your repair, so then your high build is to build that edge between your filler, your metal, and your paint. Where if you're getting rid of that, you sort of bring it all down level, and then your high build anyway, so you haven't got them edges where you, in a sense, you've got your paint, your metal, your repair, but you've got a one nice flat repair, and then your high build just goes over the top of that. Could require less high build in a sense, really. But it's just down to the technician, really.
But it's something that you've had. I mean, well, obviously,
It's one of them. It's the only way you know. So it's the only way you do it, isn't it?
Well, it's something I've spent a lot of time, with the great team at Indasa, and if those guys know their stuff.
Yeah.
And I would seriously look to reach out to your tech reps or whoever it might be, your local providers, and see if you can get a demonstration of some of this stuff. I know they're doing the Lightspeed version as well.
Yeah,
the UV clear.
UV.
So yeah, I've only ever heard great things. I've only ever seen great things. So, what I would advise, if that's something you want to do, and it does team up brilliantly with GPR, is speak straight to the horse's mouth, and what can't speak can't lie. You can see it in your flesh. So we've got the last one here, and this is kind of teams up here. No chance of cross contamination on an aluminium substrate. So obviously, if you're rubbing down an aluminium panel, you have to be in a separate ventilated area. Dust is combustible, so by keeping that clear coat on top of keeping the painted surface on top of the substrate.
And even if you're talking looking like cost of, like, we had an aluminium booth, we had to have a separate extraction unit. Everything was separate, so I know in cases you will have to have that, but if you were starting out, you could just do this with both, with the filler, with the GPR.
I suppose then for some of the smaller shops, the family-owned shops that are running out of space, being able to team these products together.
It'd be hard to put like an aluminium booth in and then fill it with equipment.
Yeah.
It's if you want to stick with your data and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Now, this is just a very, very small selection. I mean, one that came to me the other day said, "Oh well, the people's exposure to, obviously when you're DAing the paint down to get to the substrate so you can do your weld, obviously you're exposing yourself to white finger.
Yeah.
So that your exposure to DAs is going to be a lot less."